10 o'clock, this is Sky News at 10, our top story.
We are past the peak of this disease. We're past the peak and we're on the downward slope.
Britain over the worst. The Prime Minister promises a plan to get the economy moving again. Testing times over his government's target, though, as ministers admit it's probable they haven't hit the mark.
You still haven't been invited by the Chinese authorities to take part?
Up to now, we have not had the invitation, no.
Scrutiny and the source of the virus. The World Health Organization tells us it's not part of the investigation. Burying the dead of Brazil, the thousands of deaths from the virus its president calls light flu. Solving the secret of plastic pollution, scientists find the final resting place for millions of tons.
In all of us, I find it so difficult to put in a word.
A rising rank for a healthcare hero, celebrating Colonel Tom, 100 years old. And we'll take a look at tomorrow's front pages in the press preview at 10:30.
Peter, do you know what's been wrong with you?
Yes. Come on.
Absolutely.
It doesn't deserve to be.
You do deserve to be alive.
The first breaths of a second life after waking up from an induced coma. A tale of COVID recovery as the Prime Minister says, we are past the peak.
We are past the peak of this disease. We're past the peak and we're on the downward slope.
Back on the job and back from the brink. Good evening. The Prime Minister spelled out what others had hinted at before. We are past that peak. We can see light at the end of the tunnel. It could have been so much worse, he added. But for now, our locked in and locked down lives won't change much. That would still risk a second wave of infection. The battle continues on many fronts, from testing and tracing to drugs and vaccine trials. We need all of them to reclaim what we once called normality. The Prime Minister, who has stared into the COVID abyss himself, reminded us of that today. If the bigger picture remains uncertain, albeit less bleak, it is mirrored in individual stories of survival and resilience. We have two such stories tonight from the same hospital trust.
And the Prime Minister promises that next week he will spell out how he will get the economy moving again, with details of how schools will reopen, how commuters can travel and workplaces be made safer. Today's figures show there have been 674 more UK deaths from the virus. The total number of UK deaths now stands at 26,711. The government had set a target of 100,000 daily tests by today, and yesterday 81,611 were actually carried out. Also tonight, as our Prime Minister tells us that we are past the contagion peak thanks to the lockdown, what is going on in Sweden, where they've refused to shut the country down? And Captain Tom Moore is celebrated and made an honorary colonel after raising more than £30 million for the NHS, as we extend our programme to bring you live coverage of people around the country clapping for our carers.
We are past the peak, the Prime Minister said today, and he will soon give us an idea of how the lockdown might be eased. He also said that face masks might be part of the solution.
Face coverings will be useful, both for epidemiological reasons, but also for giving people confidence that they can go back to work.
Also on News at 10 tonight. It is just a little flu, says its populist president, but Brazil is the latest country to be ravaged by the coronavirus. Paul has another moving report on the brutal realities of being on the care front line.
It does get to you every now and again, I'm sorry, but it does.
Decision time. When and how might the Premier League get back into action? And Finally, what else but the 100th birthday of Colonel Tom, the man who has given us so much to cheer about.
You've got your telegram from the Queen there.
Yes, it's signed Elizabeth. This won't get thrown away.